Thank you. It's an honor to be here. So probably like most of you, at least what I can gather from the conversations we've been having, I've been very worried about not just about the future of artificial intelligence, but about its present. Deep fakes powered by AI steal people's images for nefarious use and invade people's digital privacy in the most personal ways possible. Large language models like ChatGPT and Gemini are trained on data produced by humans. So the models bake in human biases, including discrimination based on gender, race, ethnicity, and other categories. These same LLMs and the broader category of neural networks routinely hallucinate and generate false claims, false outputs that can disseminate disinformation and could also cause real physical injury. AI can perform many cognitive tasks that typically are done by trained professionals. And we're already seeing worker displacement, which portends substantial unemployment in the near future. As this conference has underscored, AI, and Margaret especially in this last session, AI needs thoughtful and comprehensive governance to encourage its promise, but especially to prevent its harms. When people talk about regulating artificial intelligence, who do we think about? Possibly ethicists, certainly tech critics, activists, of course, maybe government agencies, religious leaders. But here was a surprise for me, especially as a researcher. Business managers, a category of people who produce and use AI and are often anti-government in their politics, and thus the very people you might expect to fight regulation the most. They are calling forcefully for comprehensive regulation of artificial intelligence. And this is not just cheap talk. They're willing to take political action, including signing pro-regulation petitions, sending messages to political representatives, and urging better AI governance. This is not simply true of the managers in our study. For example, Google CEO Sundar Pichai said in 2023, AI can be very harmful if deployed wrongly, and we don't have all the answers there yet. And the technology is moving fast. So does that keep me up at night? Absolutely, he said. He is not alone. AI is moving more rapidly than our legal systems can track. And every week brings new capabilities. Some are thrilling and undoubtedly useful. Some are threatening and even horrifying. This slide lists some of the concerns, and these are the concerns, the components at the center of our study. Because AI crosses every border instantly, regulation cannot stop at the water's edge. We need global solutions. So my collaborators, Terry Chapman at the University of Texas, Weimin Lee, who is a postdoctoral fellow at Princeton, and I were very interested in business managers' views on global regulation of AI. We surveyed just under 3,000 managers in 4 major economies to find out how they think AI should be governed. We predicted that executives would favor voluntary self-regulation and light touch and limited standards, maybe vague standards. Instead, we found an unexpected appetite for rules, and not just soft standards, but binding, encompassing, enforceable global regulations. Managers' revealed preferences reminded me of a truth from our faith. Agency is not chaos. It is freedom within the bounds of law. Innovation, like agency, needs structure to thrive. So if AI is global, who should make the rules? Tech giants? Governments? United Nations? Some combination? Somebody else? To learn what leaders of businesses desire for AI regulation, we designed what's called a conjoint experiment. It's a fancy term for showing people two versions of a thing, in this case, a hypothetical global AI governance organization, and asking which they prefer. This slide shows the prompts we gave the managers before they saw the actual experiment. Each hypothetical global AI agreement differed in who was at the table, how broad the rules were, whether the commitments were binding, who they applied to, and how large the bureaucracy was. And each of these components was randomly assigned. So this is an example of what the managers actually saw. And they saw this, they did 3 different tasks like this, where they picked one of the 2 and then decided they were willing to take actual action, signing petitions, sending messages to members of parliament or Congress. And we ran this study in 4 countries with 700 managers roughly in each of the countries. United States, United Kingdom, France, and Germany during the summer of 2024. These are countries with both with leading AI firms and active public debate about regulation of AI. Here are the results. And here's how to read this graph. So the dots tell you the average distance of a hypothetical feature of these AI governance organizations compared to the base condition. For example, for members in the top panel, the base condition with the dot on the 0 line indicates a global AI organization composed only of governments. So we can compare managers' reaction to that government's only condition to one that includes both governments and firms. And we can also compare it to a regime that includes governments, firms, and non-governmental organizations. The horizontal bars on either side of the dots are the 95% confidence intervals from statistics, giving you nightmares from Stats 101. So if the bars overlap the dotted line on either side, if they overlap the dotted line at 0, that estimate is not statistically significant. As it happens, as you can see in this slide, nearly all of the results are significant in a statistical sense at exacting levels. By the way, this almost never happens in my research. So usually 3/4 of those bars are overlapping the 0 line, meaning that they're null. Here, that was not the case. So let me emphasize that across all 4 countries, managers consistently chose more encompassing forms of regulation with bite. They wanted governments, companies, and civil society to all be involved. They didn't want to simply regulate for specific protections, such as privacy or transparency or discrimination or job protection. They strongly wanted a comprehensive regime regulating all 4 areas. They wanted the rules to apply equally to both private firms and government agencies. And in a strongly significant way, they wanted the rules to be binding and not voluntary. Probably the biggest surprise for me. This is not what I expected. That's common for me in my research. So when we look only at senior managers, we get the same result. You might worry that these managers in our study weren't senior or powerful enough to turn their preferences into public policy. That may be true, but when we look only at the senior managers, we still get the same result. When we look at the data from each of the 4 countries independently, separately, we get the same result substantively. When we look at managers who answer in an earlier question reported that they are not especially concerned about AI, compared to those who express significant concern about AI, we still get the same result. And again, this was not just cheap talk. These managers are willing to sign petitions and send messages to their members of parliament or Congress demanding serious global AI regulation. There seems to be an appetite for regulation even in unexpected places in the business community. In a 2024 press conference at the Harvard Business School, Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, said, "We could make an international atomic energy agency for advanced AI. If you have one of the top 10 AI systems, you will have the equivalent of weapons inspectors." Maybe this is cheap talk. I don't know. Yeah. Of course, the natural question that comes up next is why? Why do leaders of businesses prefer strong global regulation of AI rather than a hands-off policy to enable them to exploit the technology freely? We don't completely know, honestly, since we did not anticipate these results. We couldn't build in, explorations in the design. But here are reasons that we speculated after the fact, and there's some evidence in the data that suggests them. First, these managers are knowledge workers, all of them, and AI is already displacing that type of professional. And that's likely to accelerate. These managers may want some job protection. Also, standardized rules make them more predictable, which likely creates a more stable investment environment. Sorry, I'm behind on my slides. More stable investment environment. Without strong global regulation, each individual country has an incentive to create lax legal environments, which might cause a global disarms race in terms of AI regulation. Finally, business managers are people too, and most people are decent morally. Managers may want accountability to protect people other than themselves and their companies. As Microsoft's Vice Chair and President Brad Smith wrote in 2023, we will need a multilateral framework that connects various national rules and ensures that an AI system certified as safe in one jurisdiction can also qualify as safe in another. Section 93 of the Doctrine and Covenants describes intelligence as light and truth, which is not created or made, but rather organized. As a lifelong member of the church, I take this idea for granted. But think about it for a moment. It's really a striking definition. And it's particularly relevant here. What these executives seem to want was something like that. Organized intelligence, not unfettered power. When we think about intelligence, artificial or divine, we're reminded that power without order is not creation. It is chaos. Our study suggests that even in the for-profit world of business, there is a strong recognition that wisdom and restraint must guide innovation. AI may not become a wildfire. It has the potential to be a torch. But whether it burns the world or lights our way clearly depends on our stewardship. Our study tells me that people on the front lines, those building and deploying these artificial intelligence tools, want governments to act collectively and responsibly. AI needs an owner's manual. And as it turns out, a key set of owners are pretty clearly asking for one. Thank you.